1-minute genetics.
If parents who are carriers for a disease have a child affected by the disease, the next 3 children are risk-free.
A video filmed by Aniba Chitani, Zainab Safar, and Aisha Asif for grade 11 genetics students. Ali and Noor are both carriers of the allele for cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a hereditary disorder that primarily affects the lungs and digestive system. Cystic fibrosis is inherited in an autosomal recessive pattern. Since both Ali and Noor are carriers, each of the two carry a dominant wild-type CF allele and a recessive mutant CF allele.
After their first child experienced symptoms, they realized she was affected by cystic fibrosis. This indicates she was homozygous with a mutant allele, which she inherited 1 from each parent. When planning for their next child, Ali and Noor were misled into thinking that the rest of their children would be risk-free. Why?
Let's take a look. Here are the genotypes of Ali and Noor. When drawing out a Punnett square, it can be seen that both parents are capable of passing down either a wild-type or mutant CF allele. The possible genotypes of the children are homozygous dominant with a probability of 1 out of 4, homozygous recessive with a probability of 1 out of 4, and heterozygous carriers with a probability of 1 out of 2. In terms of phenotypes, there is a 3 out of 4 chance of the child not being affected by cystic fibrosis and a 1 out of 4 chance of being affected. Based on this, Ali and Noor concluded that if one child was affected, the other 3 would not be.
Unfortunately, this is not the case. The probability of having a child affected by cystic fibrosis is 1 over 4, and this is an individual probability applied to each birth. This means that even if one child is affected, there is still a 1 over 4 chance of each child after that being affected.
This misconception can also be cleared through mathematical calculations of probabilities. If we can use the product rule, which determines the probability of 2 or more independent events occurring together. Since there is a 1 out of 2 chance of inheriting the mutant CF allele from the father and a 1 out of 2 chance of inheriting the mutant CF allele from the mother, we would multiply these 2 individual probabilities to determine the likelihood of the child being affected by cystic fibrosis. Consistent with the Punnett square, there would be an independent probability of 1 out of 4 for each child showing symptoms.
Therefore, the birth of one child does not affect any subsequent births in terms of Mendelian inheritance. The bad news is that although Ali and Noor's first child was affected, this does not mean the rest of their children will be risk-free. The good news is that prenatal testing can be done during pregnancy to determine whether or not their unborn child will be affected.
The end.